Hi there, welcome to another video. Today we're in the studio. I thought we'd do a bit of drawing. Got all my charcoal pencils and bits and pieces with me. This will be a charcoal drawing on a plywood panel 40 by 30 centimeters. So it's been gessoed with a traditional gesso, and I'm going to have a go at this interesting scene. I quite like these darks, these dark shapes and all these angles of the boats. And it's going to be a bit difficult video in this one because I'm going to be doing, sometimes it'll be on flat on the table, and other times it'll be on the easel, so you'll just have to bear with me on this one, and let's see if we get on. Right, so just start by mapping out a few lines, rough drawn, not traced off or anything like that, or scaled up and measured. It's all drawn freehand with a charcoal pencil. So quite a hard charcoal pencil, so it's not too soft. And that way I can just sort of draw these lines in with the use of a ruler as well. And that's a compressed charcoal block, which I'm using there just to fill in those dark areas for that hull of that dark boat in the foreground. And I use a mixture of charcoal pencils. That's a willow charcoal stick. It's a bit lighter, so that's more of a mid-tone. And there's the blending stump, which I use quite a lot when I want to sort of stain that board with the charcoal which I've already placed on. That's the compressed charcoal going on there, just to give it a bit of tone on the background, get rid of the white, and I just smudge that in with my fingers. See, I constantly changing between compressed charcoal and willow. That's the willow there. When I want something that's not quite so dark, so I only pick up the compressed charcoal stick or block when I want a really dark, solid area of sort of real black. You can draw in with the blending stump, which has already got charcoal on it, so you can use that as a drawing tool as well as for filling in areas and blending. That's a willow charcoal there, so it's not quite so dark, you see. As the compressed charcoal has got like a wax substance in with it to keep it together, whereas the sort of willow vine charcoal doesn't have that. It's just like burnt wood. And there's what I was using as a ruler was just a little piece of wood. I didn't have my ruler that day. This is the first day's session, and that's what we're using as our reference. That quite a nice black and white photograph from Cadgwith Cove. So I'm drawing in, and I'm constantly blowing the charcoal dust away then, as you can see there. I've got a piece of paper just to rest my hand on so it doesn't smudge too much underneath there, so I don't lose everything I've done. Right, so this is where we've got to at this point. I've been mainly concentrating on the boat on the left hand side there to try and get that detail on there. It's proven really difficult, this one. Once we get into the background, that's when I'll probably place it on the easel and I can start to just have a bit more fun in the these foreground areas and that background there. You can see the grain of the plywood coming through there. I quite like that, and I quite like all the smudges as well. Get this boat finished off here, then move into this one. A lot of work on that one to do, as you can see in the photograph. And then we'll get into the foreground and the background. Got my Tombow little erasers, really handy these are. And I'm just starting to fill in a few of these details on this boat on this left hand side here, sort of rigging, mast, and scratching back through into this gesso with the blade and rubbing out with the Tombow eraser, rubbing back. So if I want it to go really white, I scratch through with the blade, and if I want it to be sort of a off-white but light area, I use an eraser, either putty rubber or the Tombow. I'm just sort of filling in areas now on this other side just to sort of see how dark it's going to go, so that I can match up areas on the left hand side. And I thought it was about time I tackled that lettering, which I've been putting off for quite a while. And the only way I could work out to do this, because it was in like a 3D pattern, so really difficult on a slanted surface. So I used the compressed charcoal and scratched back and rubbed out areas to define the letters as best I could, all freehand. So I sort of filled in the letters there, look, and I scratched or rubbed back through to get the shape. There we are, scratching through with the blade to get that 3D effect that you can see in the photograph. Now we're rubbing through with the eraser to go through the charcoal mid-tone which I'd placed on the board to get the lighter areas where the sun was sort of catching those bars, that frame on the top of the boat. Right, quick update. This is where we're at the moment, proving to be very time consuming and difficult, but I think it might be worth it to carry on. I quite like the effect on this sort of distressed gesso panel. Yeah, lots of difficult areas to work on, but I'll keep going. So I'm just working back into this boat now with a mixture of willow, charcoal, eraser and the blade. And sometimes there, like there, when I want it a bit darker, I use the compressed charcoal pencil and then follow that up with the blending stump to sort of rub it into the gesso so it stains then. It doesn't come off as a dust, because generally the charcoal sort of sits on the surface, so you need to sometimes rub it in with the blending stump to sort of keep it in place, and then go back over it again if you want it darker, or rub out with the eraser if you obviously want it to go lighter. I've got two erasers there, two Tombow erasers, one with a wider end piece which is used, I can press down harder, and one with a small round area which is obviously for finer rubbing out. And I've got several size blending stumps as well for different, obviously different sized areas of blending. There's a bigger one. I used to hate the feeling of willow charcoal, but I've sort of got used to it now. That's why I quite like the pencils, because they're you can't actually feel the charcoal then, unless it's woodless charcoal pencil, of course, which I find do sharpen easier. I find the wooden charcoal pencils often sort of snap as you're sharpening them. Now we're working into the lettering now on the black boat in the foreground, and I've decided the best way to approach this was to obviously completely cover the hull in that compressed charcoal, fairly dark, so rubbed in just right into the surface of the gesso board, and then scratch back through with the blade, and that was in like a 3D pattern as well, but not quite so bad as on the white boat on the left hand side. So these letters weren't quite so bad. Obviously the biggest problem was the fact that I've got a 6 and a 9, probably the two worst numbers you could possibly want to have to draw. Right, I'm going to stop at this point here. I've done the lettering, which I was dreading, but I need to get that fixed down in this area here. See, all the lettering had all these extra like 3D effects I've had to go around, and this one was a nightmare. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at this, but I need to get all this fixed, make sure I've rubbed out everything I can. So I can't, once I've fixed it, I can't really go back other than scraping. I'm going to fix that, and I'm going to finish this off tomorrow because it's been a very long process. But it's coming together now. Came back the next day for another session on it. I had a good look at it and just decided to really press on and get this all this sort of detail done on this boat on the right hand side in the foreground there. And the more I looked at it, the more I saw it just went on and on, all the details, endless details. And there you can hear the rain on my studio roof, battering down. I tried to show different angles as I worked on it with the camera, moving the camera around so you could get a feel for how I just worked on the drawing as I moved around. So there you can see that I've placed the photograph on its side, so you can see I'm working on the rigging there. And obviously it's not 100% accurate at all, but it's a nice representation, I think, with charcoal, and it's a good tonal exercise as well. It helps you with your painting. This is where we're at the moment, not too far away now. Having said that, I keep seeing new things all the time which make it prolong the agony. Like this is proven to be very complicated mixture of shapes, lines and tones, very complicated area, but it's starting to come together now, and this area won't take long at all in comparison to this. So we'll see how we get on. Let's carry on and push on. So you can see my method is to pick up whatever tool, rather than sort of go around thinking that what areas all need to be scraped off or drawn in at the same time. I just work on that, and then I'll pick up the blending stump, blend in some areas, and it'll go back to a pencil. There we are, charcoal pencil, work those areas up, and I'll go back to something else then. And you can hear me from time to time just blowing the charcoal dust away. Yeah, see, there we've gone back into the blending stump to blend in those areas so they stain the board, and I can just sort of plant the charcoal into the surface rather than having it sit on the top and disappear. And I'm drawing with the eraser there. That's the small eraser, small Tombow eraser there. I think drawing like this, I get through a couple of these pencils because they constantly need sharpening for these detailed areas. And I've got quite a nice sharpener. I'm virtually finished now. I think I've done all the work I want to do on the boats. That was horrendous. yeah, the more I got into it, the more I saw. And I'm not sure if I got some of the angles right, but I think that's the best I can do. And I've used a mixture of like willow charcoal in areas and compressed charcoal in others, and obviously rubbed out, scratched out. Now all there is left, I'm going to place it on the easel. We're going to finish off these little areas now, and that's it. So here we are, we're on the easel now. So it's quite an upright position, so I can be a bit freer with the movements now. With the drawing a bit freer, which is what I wanted to be with the whole thing, but it just got too detailed really. The boats, I couldn't avoid details on the boats. But on the easel now I can just be a bit freer with these, the beach, a little area of the waves, the sea coming in there, and the rocks behind the boats. And I've just sped this up, this whole process of this one, so you can see how I built it up in a time-lapse sped up method of filming here, rather than cutting away with the edits. I thought this would be quite a nice change just to see this in a sped up version. And you can see I'm still using the same variety of tools: finger, Tombow eraser, charcoal pencil, willow charcoal. It's all being used all the time. Keep switching between whichever tool I think is needed to do the required bit of drawing, and I scratch off with a standing knife blade as well. This is just the finishing touches here, just a few areas to rub out where I've might have smudged a little bit with my paper, or the paper I was using on my palm of my hand, just to re-establish some of the lights that I've lost. I think I'm going to call that a day on that one. Really challenging subject. Lots going on here. Couldn't really freely draw it, had to do a lot of technical stuff and just concentrate on little small sections at a time. And yeah, really complicated, but really it's a good challenge. Sometimes it does you good to challenge yourself to see how far you can take something. Yeah, and like lettering, these lettering on, like, you know, not just painted on, it's like got like a 3D effect on an angled surface. So yeah, really difficult to draw, and I don't like drawing outlines, so I'm trying to get rid of all the outlines so it's like a tonal drawing. Very complicated, but we got there in the end. Cadgwith Cove on the Lizard Peninsula in Cornwall. I used willow charcoal and compressed charcoal, charcoal pencils, and yeah, so that's it, we're done. I hope you enjoyed that one. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and bye for now.